Before dying, most of us will become old, a process aptly described as not for sissies. Racking pain, dementia so severe we can't recognize our children, cat food for dinner, forced retirement, colostomy bags, muscles that no longer listen to our commands, organs that betray us, children who ignore us. Mostly that aching sense that just when we finally grow up and learn to like ourselves and to love and play, the shadows lengthen. There's so little time. That's an excerpt from one of my favorite books, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, written by Robert Sapolsky. You might want to give him a check out to him because he's written several good books, including Behave and a few others. Again, one of my favorite authors, so check him out. But man, once you read that, there's a reason why in the military we used to say, die young and leave a hard body, because it doesn't look good when you're getting older. That future is not very bright. Well, can we expect the same thing with our dogs? Will their future be the same way? Aching muscles, children who don't remember us not remembering our children, no one caring about us anymore. Will we have colostomy bags for our dogs? Will we not be able to go for strolls and walks like we used to? Is that what the future holds for your dog? Well, I don't think it's that dark, but it definitely holds a few issues that if we address now, we can get ahead of it. We can mitigate those losses in senses, those losses in muscle power and activity levels and cognition. I've always said that predictive information is one of the greatest gifts you can ever have. Even if it's bad news and good news, which devil's worse, the one you know or the one you don't know? For me, it's always been the one I don't know. That devil's the one that's worse. The only time predictive information is bad, well, is when it doesn't give you enough time to do anything about it. If I suddenly got an alert on my phone that said, hey, you got a meteorite headed right for your house, Brian, it's going to hit in about 2 minutes. I don't know about you, but I wish I didn't know that. I've been just carrying on doing this video and boom, and there we go. So again, predictive information doesn't do you a lot of good if you don't have enough time to do anything about the situation. But with our dogs growing old, hopefully we have plenty of time. If you've got a middle-aged dog right now, or even a young puppy, start thinking about this as we move along. What can you expect? And in knowing what you can expect and preparing for what you can expect helps you, like I addressed in yesterday's video, to control your emotions, to not be so fearful, to not dread your dog's aging. We humans, unlike animals, can mobilize our stress response from a mere thought. Isn't that remarkable? That's not a gift. I don't consider that a gift at all. And the University of Linköping over in Sweden last year determined that dogs do indeed mirror our stress response. So again, the more we know about the aging process with our dogs, the better prepared we will be. Good news or bad news, let's just get after it, learn what's going to happen and what can happen if your dog ages, so you're prepared and you can prepare your dog. And therefore we can enjoy those golden years together. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it. What can we expect? Well, let me reach over here and grab one of my markers. What to expect? But first of all, with all dogs, there's going to be what we call a natural vulnerability. In other words, an increase in uptick in anxiety. You can expect that. That's going to happen. That is fed by a lack or loss of senses. It's going to happen. If your dog lives long enough, it will become more anxious. And if it was already anxious about certain provocative events like thunderstorms, fireworks, or a sense of separation from you, has phobias, depression, all of these typically will worsen with age because the anxiety is fed by a loss of senses and also a heritable trait that comes from wild group living animals like wolves, in which your dog shares all of its mitochondrial DNA with, except for 0.2%. Out in the wild, as wolves age, they become extremely vulnerable because they're not extremely welcome in the pack. Meaning, at about 2 years of age, mom and dad will typically kick to the curb that growing junior or that growing missy because they can grow into opponents of their position, that linear hierarchy. And they don't want that. I'm going to blunt aggression. I'm going to limit my competition. Hierarchies work best if I have 95% control over you. But when it becomes 51-49, you need to go. Well, guess what happens? Mom and dad finally age. They get really old. And when they do, it's Junior and little Missy that's kicking them to the curb. And if they go one at a time, they typically won't survive another year or two after that. Animals know that day is coming. They feel it. They sense it. They're so in tune with their own bodies and their world around them, they know it. And again, they don't look at it with dread that we know of, not being able to detect that in dogs, and certainly not in wolves. It's like the elder that I spoke of yesterday. It is their time. They've done their job. They've done what nature has asked of them. And now it's time to move on. Okay, so your dogs are going to know this right off the bat. There's nothing you can do about that. There will be a natural vulnerability and there'll be an uptick in anxiety because mostly of this stuff is incurred by lack of senses and the abilities of those senses, a loss of them. Number one of all is a sense of smell. Even though dogs do take in most of their information in the world with their eyesight, they can compensate with their sense of smell around the house. Now, you take the dog outside of the house, out of its natural environment, the environment in which it's familiar with, and then the vision becomes paramount. Extremely important. So again, going to new places and novel environments without that great vision that I used to have, that can cause an uptick in anxiety as well. But what happens with the sense of smell is a loss of information. Yeah, okay, so my eyes are kind of telling me, I think it's Bryan, but let me affirm that with a good smell. Dang, I can't smell him. I don't know if that's Bryan or not. Is that my bed? Is this my home? Yeah, imagine that. You don't know. You don't know. You know, your eyes are failing, so you count on your nose. But now your nose is failing as well. Is this my home? Is this my bed? Are these my owners? Are these part of my pack? Yeah, as you can imagine. There you go. There's an uptick in anxiety right there. Natural vulnerability fed by senses impairment, vision, and sense of smell. The two that are most impacted and the two that mean the most to your dog as it ages. Okay, what's the next thing that happens? Cognitive dysfunction. Wow, okay, well that happens to all of us mammals here. Absolutely, trust me, I cannot tell you how many notes I have to write on top of my notes. I have a post-it note on a post-it note on top of a post-it note inside of a notebook, and then after about a week, I'll habituate to all of those, won't even notice them, so I have to start it all over again. Welcome to cognitive dysfunction. It does happen, but you can stave it off, and we're going to talk a lot tomorrow. Today, we're just going to talk about what you can expect. Tomorrow, we'll talk about what you can do about it, because that's really important. But do expect some cognitive dysfunction from your dog. It happens, and it's going to happen. And a lot of that can lead the animal to having GAD-like symptoms. That's a generalized anxiety disorder. Those are very hard to identify because they have many chutes coming off of it, many spokes. Think of a GAD like a big hub on a wagon wheel. And there's many spokes that come off of that. And it can be phobias. It can be hypervigilance. It can be anything from misperception of whether this person or this other animal is a threat or not. GADs, yeah, GADs are really bad. And again, when you talk to humans who have GADs, one of the most apt descriptions, or one of the ones I think is the most accurate, is that they will describe it is like the sand or the earth constantly shifting below my feet. Yeah, wow. So again, you can expect that with your dog at various levels. At a high level, it can even morph into a panic disorder, where your dog will start to panic during moments in which it never panicked before. Yeah, expect some of this so you're not caught totally off guard by it. I've owned so many dogs, and I've watched so many of my dogs grow old. And some did so more gracefully and more gently and passed into the night. Others fought a tooth and claw, and others, I don't think they were aware of who they were, where they were at any given moment once they reached a certain point in age. I remember a dog I had named Max. He used to put himself in timeout. Literally, he'd go lay with his nose in the corner of a room. And there were moments where he did not know me. And then all of a sudden there were moments in which he did. So guys, preparation for this, to kind of stave it off, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. So expect your dog to have some cognitive dysfunction. So it could resemble something like a GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, or a PD, panic disorder. And because your dog will suffer some cognitive dysfunction, it can lead to a disruption in sleep cycles. Yeah, changes in sleep cycles. And what does that look like? Yeah, you imagine what that looks like. That's the dog who would normally go to bed when you go to bed, get up when you get up, no longer. Now it's the dog who paces aimlessly all night long, down the hallways, click, 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 click. Hypervigilance, looking out windows, whining, vocalization will increase as well. You have a confused animal. And confused animals aren't like humans. When they're confused, they become extremely afraid. They will either avoid something entirely, try not to deal with it until they can learn about it, or they will become extremely fearful. And older dogs, with all of this stuff stacking up on top of them, I'm losing my eyesight. I can't smell as well. I can't remember things as well as I used to. They will develop GAD-like symptoms, and one of those hallmarks of a GAD is hypervigilance, irritability. I can't get comfortable. And another reason your dog may not get comfortable is because of pain, and we'll talk about that, pain. But expect up here in cognitive dysfunction, changes in sleep cycles, pace aimlessly at night, sleep during the day. So if you see your older dog sleeping during the day, don't rouse it. Don't rouse it. There are things that we can do about all this stuff, though. There could be an increase in vocalization, and they may become unresponsive to your command to stop. So imagine you, 2 o'clock in the morning, you hear your dog whining. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is horrible. This is horrible. I can't get any sleep, and my dog is whining, so you yell out, quiet, stop. And your dog doesn't. And now all of a sudden, some owners, not knowing this can occur, can suddenly start to raise the signal more in their command by taking up the correction. And of course, you know where that's going to lead. You raise the correction on an old dog who doesn't even have a clue really who you are, where I'm at that particular moment, and definitely can't understand how to control the correction, how to escape it, how to avoid it. So again, that will add to your dog's anxiety. So be careful of that. Watch out doing that. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about anti-anxiety medications, because this is a time period in life that if your dog is doing all of these, I'd highly recommend it to achieve a global lessening of this anxiety. You've heard me talk so much about stress, and Robert Sapolsky in his book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, talks a lot about the human stress response. It won't kill you, but it will set you up to be killed by every darn thing else. And every passing year, we're learning more and more about the debilitating and very harmful effects of overloaded stress, pathological stress, implicit anxiety. All right, so pay attention to that, because this is really important. It's all about controlling your animal's stress. All about it. Okay, and then another stressor, physical pain. It's going to happen. It does happen. So again, I'm telling you all these things. I owned a vet hospital for many years. I had my fingers in this. I've been around it. I've talked to thousands of veterinarians. I work with them doing canine pharmacotherapy. I do my research. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm here to tell you I do not know of any dogs past the age of 12 or 13 that do not have some pain. You may not think they have pain because animals have a remarkable ability to suffer in silence. So that's why I'm telling you all of this. It will be there. So you need to pay attention. Your dog gets a little bit older. You need to observe your dog better. Watch. Go hunting for it. Don't be paranoid, but be expecting it. Because you can't help something that isn't going to sit there and walk right up to you and go, I'm really hurting here. I could use a little relief. No, don't expect your dog to do that. You're going to have to watch for obvious signs of it. And part of those signs will be if I have joints or hip pain, maybe they don't hop in the car. Well, they used to hop in the car. Now with my dog, did he pull something? Did I exercise him too much? Can't hop up on the sofa. Can't hop up on the bed. Walks with a little bit of a limp. Slow to get up. Really slow to lie down. Lays on one side all the time. Never lies on the other side. That's how I discovered some hip pain in one of my dogs. He started to develop a little thermal hot spot right here on his left hip. And why? Because he was lying on it all the time. So why did he lie on that side all the time? Because that side hurt. So he laid on this side to give it relief. Yeah, I had a dog that used to jump up in a pen. Jump up, turn right, jump up, turn right, jump up, turn right. Anytime anyone passed by, anytime anyone went by with a dog, all my employees would always ask the question and go, so, has anyone ever seen him turn left? Because all I ever see him do is jump up and turn right. Well, after about 2 years of that jumping up and turning right, I took him into the vet hospital. We x-rayed him. And come to find out, his acetabulum, the femur head on his right side there, was almost completely out of the acetabulum, out of the hip socket right there. And so now, of course, begged the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was he turning right because of the pain, or did the turning right create the condition and the pain? Well, at the end of the day, it really didn't matter, but it was a head scratcher for sure. But the point I'm getting to with that is take note of these things. So you'll know. I wish I had paid more attention to that and not just blown it off as though just a whimsical dog. He's just a quirky dog is what he is. No, I wish I'd been able to jump on that a good 2 years earlier. Probably would have saved him the agony of having to go through the surgery and the pain that he went through and the rest of his life on Rimadyl and Duramax and everything else, anti-inflammatories, all sorts of stuff. So again, I'm preaching you because of my pain. I'm trying to spare you the pain of now looking back on something and going, dang, I wish I'd done something about my dog. I wish I'd known this. Yeah, okay, so I'm telling you, these are the things. There's so many things that can happen to your dog when it ages. So many. These are the ones that I guarantee you will have. You will have it. So if you're not looking for it, wrong on you. Get looking for it. Okay, natural vulnerability, cognitive dysfunction, pain. Pain will include joints, hips. Also look for elimination problems. Dogs will go one way or the other when it comes to that. Some dogs will become extremely constipated because those hips hurt. It hurts when I take up that position that I need to take up to eliminate. I'm in pain. My knees hurt. It all hurts. My gut hurts. So they don't go potty. And when they don't, that stuff backs up and we have all sorts of problems with that. And then you've got some, that's all they do. They have so much pain, they have incontinence. They're walking around dribbling all over your floor and they eliminate here, there, everywhere. Now all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, you've been housebroken for 10 years. And now you're going in my house? And again, if you're not expecting this, if you don't think this is a byproduct of the aging system on the animal, then again, we start to make mistakes. We start to correct animals. We start thinking about rehoming. We start thinking of maybe even euthanizing when we're actually a long ways away from that. So again, expect it. That can definitely happen. Won't eat. Yeah, there you go. That's another one. My dog won't eat. Why will my dog not eat? Sometimes it's tooth pain. Tooth pain. My teeth hurt. Now, remember the elder I talked about yesterday's video? He had no teeth. Yeah, they didn't have a really good healthcare system up there. Didn't have any dentists walking around. They use their teeth for everything. Everything from making leather softer to holding twine, pulling to make it tight on snowshoes. They use their teeth. They cut off big hunks of walrus, big hunks of whale, and then they just chew it and chew it and chew it. And that stuff's like biting into a tire. Yeah, so after all those years, they had no teeth left. So someone else had to do all that chewing for them and then give it to them pre-chewed up. They're already chewed up. Your dogs can go through the same thing. It's a mammal. If you're not doing good, proper dental care, taking your dog to the veterinarian regularly to have those teeth checked, your dog can then incur tooth pain. And when it does, it's not going to feel like eating that good old crunchy food, that crunchy kibble. So you may have to shift to a softer food that your dog can eat. And again, if it's been eating the same food for a long, long, long time, then your dog will have a microbial population in its gut that has been adjusted and has adapted to that diet. So case in point, you eat a turkey sandwich every single day. Every day you eat a turkey sandwich, you eat a turkey sandwich, you eat a turkey sandwich. That's all you eat. Do that for a year. And then go have yourself a good old spicy burrito. You probably won't have any problem with constipation for a few days. All right, so look out for that as well. Just look for tooth pain or any changes in the digestive system. All of those can lead to your dog not eating. And here's my problem with not eating. You got to feed the brain. The brain actually requires nutrients. It's one of your biggest muscles. It's the hardest working muscle, that in your heart. You've got to give it nutrients. And this is what causes, by the way, some brain dysfunction as well, is that when the ticker, that good old heart, can't pump, can't work as efficiently as it was able to do so when it was young, can no longer supply the oxygen and the nutrients to the brain that it was in comparison to the younger days. And as a result, you don't feed the brain, and I'm talking nutrients, I'm not talking about knowledge, and we'll talk about brain games tomorrow and things that you can do to keep your dog's brain sharp. You got to feed it with the proper nutrients. Tryptophan is one of those. Tryptophan is a supplement that you'll want to make sure that is included in your dog's diet as it gets older. Again, with all these things, always consult with your veterinarian, ask for their advice, their suggestions and recommendations as to supplements, medications, so on and so forth. But these are just things that I happen to know and things that I do with my own particular dogs when they get a little bit older. Okay, so yeah, you got to feed the brain. All right, guys, so there's many things that can happen to your dog as they get older. With that brain dysfunction, any sort of cognitive disorders, what's going to happen? You've seen me draw it up on boards before. You've got you basically, just going to reach over here real quick, and you guys probably got all this. So I'm just going to just erase it real quick and draw up here. You have your three different emotional states: calm, arousal, panic, reactive. Well, what will happen is that as the animal ages, and that anxiety increases, you can expect this arousal column to stretch downward, meaning it's going to start occupying space in the calm zone. And when I occupy space in the calm zone, that means I'm more aroused continuously. And when I'm more aroused continuously, I'm hypervigilant. I'm wandering aimlessly at night. My heart rate is going more. The stress response is critical. Sometimes if you're a lion and you're trying to eat a zebra, you need to get that bad boy going. You need to kick it into gear. Hey, I need my heart going. I need my eyes to become dilated. I need my senses to be increased. All sorts of things so that I go catch that zebra. But on the other hand, the zebra's going, okay, I need mine to work even better than yours. I need to get away from you. No different than your dog. So guys, if you're causing anxiety in your animal, that natural vulnerability, cognitive dysfunction, pain, all these sort of things, it's going to stretch the arousal column. And that means your dog's simply going to spend more days, hours, weeks, months, years in the arousal column, which means you're already mobilizing your stress response almost continuously. So again, just think about it. A lot of heart rate, a lot of oxygen, a lot of glucose, And I'll talk a little bit more tomorrow about what happens when this other thing arrives on the scene about 30 seconds after your physiological stress response is mobilized. It is called glucocorticoids. And those things are a good thing, bad thing. When they start to stack up and add up, it becomes a very, very, very bad thing. They have been implicated in hippocampal loss, meaning you actually lose a great volume of your hippocampus. And that is that part of that brain that can be compared to the keyboard on a computer. It puts information in and it takes information out. Now imagine looking down one day and 40% of your keys are missing. That's what I'm talking about. We've got to keep the stress response down in your dog. Okay, so we'll talk about all of that tomorrow, guys. We'll talk about how we can mitigate all this stuff back here. How we can make that transition from that older dog to that really old dog and do it gracefully. Do it with less pain, less anxiety. All of those things will add up to a longer life. And more importantly, it's like the old saying I even live by, it's not so much the numbers on the tombstone that matters. It's a little dash in between. That's what I'm talking about. I've had dogs that lived for 10 years. And they would have told you, man, that was a darn good 10 years. I appreciate it, Bryan. Now I've had dogs that live to be 15. And say, man, Bryan, I wish you'd known a lot of this stuff right here, because those last 5 years, I'm not telling you, I just don't know if it was worth it. Guarantee if they see me again someday, they're going to tell that to me. So I don't want your dogs to go through this. And I don't want you looking back over your shoulder, wondering, second guessing, feeling bad about it. So let's get it done, guys. Play this back if you need to. And of course, share it with someone. Please share this information. We got a lot of aging dogs in America and in the world. Help them to help themselves. They live with you. You do so much for them. You do everything for them. Be aware of it. Expect it. It's predictive information. Allows you control because you have time. Lower your stress response. Let's get it done. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do. Now that you're aware it's going to happen, so what we do about it. So stay tuned for tomorrow. Really important part. We're going to wrap up this old dog series. Time to move on to other things. Enjoy the rest of your day.